Hello, everyone. Thanks for taking time out of your busy lives. Before going to the introduction and details regarding the presentation, we'll just give a minute or two for the others to also kind of catch up and join. So let's give them like 2 minutes. So let's start then. I hope you guys can hear me well. So basically, this if not, if you cannot hear me, please let me know in the chat, basically, so that I can have the technical team look into it. So the assumption that you guys can hear me, so let me start basically. So this webinar will be, giving you an introduction to the advanced devices from Ruptela. Most of the clientele would be very much knowing Ruptela, not just because of the basic devices, but also the advanced devices that can cater to a large fleet and a large number of brands as well. So this presentation is to just give an introduction to these advanced devices and most likely the capabilities and the advantages that it would bring, especially with the canvas and the installation side as well. So we have more details coming in upcoming slides. When talking about Ruptela, it was started in 2007, and now if you look at it, we have a presence at 127 countries, not in terms of branches, but in terms of our products being sold around. If you look at it, we have 10 branches now. We have opened one in UAE in the last year. Other than that, we have in Mexico, Belarus, Ukraine, Ireland, Poland, Russia, Malaysia, and our headquarters in Lithuania. Now, coming up to what we do, we develop hardware and software and also the firmware for the devices. Firmwares are developed as the hardware is also developed simultaneously. But again, there are cases where we cater to some of the requests from clients where we kind of try to customize it based on the volume of the order that they would like to purchase and depending on the project. Also, if the development kind of goes along with the vision that a company also has. So since we have the control over the hardware, firmware, and the software, we kind of work like how other giants like Apple, or for the likes of Apple, we have the software, we have the hardware, and we have the firmware also with us. So we play around easily with it. When it comes to software, we have a platform of our own, which is called Trust Track. But that is not part of this discussion today. For more information on TrustTrack, you can contact us always. I'll be giving you the contact details towards the end of the presentation today. So you will find the contact details there, and you could inquire regarding the software platform of Ruptela. I must say that you guys might want to check it out, and for any information regarding that, I'll be giving you the contact details following up. Now, coming back to technical support, so we have the online technical support available 24/5, and there are options to raise tickets through email, phone, and cell service. And from my experience, I have seen that phone is mostly when things are emergency. But again, feel free to call if you have any issues, because the phone is for a purpose. And we can speak English, Spanish, Polish, Russian, and Lithuanian. So we can cater to the most part of the world. We intend also to do something with Arabic and so on in the future. Now, the other support is the dedicated onboarding sessions. Myself, as a field application engineer, the main role is to onboard clients who have no experience with Ruptela devices and the configurators. So my main role, kind of being based in Dubai, is to kind of cater to the Middle East clients primarily. So when the clients are new to our products and hardware, we would have an engaging discussion with them. We open WhatsApp channels or Skype channels, depending on the preference of the client. And we basically introduce the devices. We help them integrate our devices with their software if they are not using TrustTrack, which is Ruptela platform. So likewise, we kind of give them basically a hand-holding session, I could say, for the clients, so that they feel confident to use their own. So this process would happen for like the first 2.5 months, following which they will be transferred to the support team, who will be basically handling all the technical support moving forward. So till then, you will be trained by the onboarding team, and that will help basically the clients to be confident to work on their own. And the questions that goes to technical support will be more of advanced, not basic questions that will be going to the technical support team. Now, again, as I spoke, we have kind of support from the Mexican side. We have support from the Belarus, Ukraine, Lithuania, Poland, and in UAE, we have an office here in Dubai, and I myself will be helping clients to kind of use our products. Now, other thing is that the manuals, instructions, and trainings and webinars, like you are attending one of them basically, but there are also training sessions that has been planned probably towards the end of the month. So I would welcome you guys to keep a watch so that you guys can join in onto the training sessions as well. But these training sessions will be more focused on the basic troubleshooting of our devices when it comes to power, connectivity, the location services, and so on. Moreover, we also prepare manuals when it comes to Canvas and installations. We do prepare manuals and instructions for installation as to where to find the required lines when it comes to Canvas, power, and ground, because these are very critical when it comes to getting data out of the vehicle. Now, hardware quality, since we develop and design, and also we manufacture these devices on our own, and we have the manufacturing facility in Lithuania, and hence we have basically the full product chain quality control, right from the design, packaging, development of the PCBs. We do partner with some of our, we do have partners basically for soldering of the PCBs and so on. We have in-house QC and logistics, so everything under one umbrella basically. And the production, if you look at the production, we have achieved 99.9% hardware quality, and then if you look at it, it's like 1,500,000 of trackers already deployed across the globe. The testing and validation has specialized setups for all the testing and validation. All the standards are met basically. Thermal and humidity acceptance. The internal quality test standards are also followed. Automated tests, GNS performance evaluation via OTA in RF chamber, and so on. So we do have the whole package required for testing and validation, so that we can ensure the device that has been shipped out performs to what it is being intended to. Coming to the manufacturing capabilities, we have an annual capacity of 600,000. We have a local EMS partner who takes care of the PCB development and the soldering side. All the testing and the ISO is being controlled in-house itself. Now, these are some of the product certificates that is being our devices are certified with. You could see that we have CE, FCC, PTCRB, and when it comes to Middle East, CITC and TRA is available. And there are other certifications also which could be used for that specific region. Again, we have covered these many certifications so far, and if you have any questions and if you have any projects in mind and then you would like to know if it has been certified for your region, please feel free to write to us in the contacts which I will be providing towards the end of the webinar. Now, coming to the portfolio, this is the main topic of the day, basically, which is the LTE product portfolio. You have HCV5, which is almost on the premium level, and LCV5. We have advanced devices like Pro 5, and the basic standard device for now is Trace 5. Now, there are also plans to kind of come up with a device that sits kind of in between, but those are on the development stage and the design stage. So sooner or later, please feel free to check back, and you would get to know the news of the launch of our new device that is going to come out. So for now, we'll be discussing about HCV5, LCV5, and Pro 5 in this session. Again, the same thing. Now, some of the key values are the new design has been made in a way that the cables basically come out through the one side, so the mounting can be done properly, so that the cables could fit into it. Even in case of troubleshooting something, it is also being done in a way that it can be removed easily as well. Coming back to quick care installation, we have enabled Bluetooth in all of these devices. Hence, most of the driver identifications or trailer IDs or the other sensors required, like for example, extra digital inputs over Bluetooth, those are all possible, and it makes quite easy to work with our devices and install these devices. Basically, in some cases, you really don't need installation itself. For example, if you take for driver authorization. So earlier you used to have wired solution where you need to connect the one wire system. Right now we have a button called the Bluetooth button, and you can just press them and then the driver would be authorized. So in this case, the installation time has gone down to 0. In some cases, we also have fuel level sensors that works on Bluetooth. Again, we will come to those accessories down the line. Just to give you an overview, you can see that we have this tamper detection where when the device cover or the plastic itself is disturbed or removed for tampering it would alert immediately, and you have options to choose SMS and directly from the device itself. You don't need to have an alarm sent to a platform and then platform handles the email. It's not that way. You can have it directly from the device itself quickly before even someone can take the SIM card off. So you would get the tamper detection alarm. Coming back to LTE, you can see that we are supporting Cat M1 for now, but soon itself we will have Cat 1 also in the market from the Ruptela side. This way we'll be covering the whole region, and it would make it very global as well. We provide Bluetooth API also. If you have any use cases, like for example, one of the use cases I that comes to my mind basically is the car sharing module. So the car sharing basically is getting traction in the market. So there are some clients who have used the Bluetooth API that we provide to kind of make that a smartphone application, which would authorize the driver or the end user to basically lock and unlock the vehicle, and then you start using the car. So the car sharing is one example I could come up with. So we do have that option, which is Bluetooth API. So you can customize or you can build your own solutions around it. And one of the driver authorization method itself is smartphone based on the Bluetooth itself. So you could also do that. So for example, if you have the employee phone, if you provide employees with phone, that phone could be one of the ID that can be used for driver authorization. So we have these facilities using Bluetooth in our devices. Now coming to HCV5 particularly, the HCV5 basically translates to heavy commercial vehicle. Now the peculiarity of HCV5 is that it can handle both heavy vehicle as well as the light vehicles as well. When I say handling heavy and light, it's basically coming down to the CAN bus readings. HCV5 can be programmed or configured to read data from heavy trucks and buses and agricultural machineries, as well as from cars and vans. So one device for the whole telematics or the whole fleet, I would say, both heavy and light. Now the main use is when you're working as a service provider, and you would always want to cater clients who have both heavy as well as light. HCV5 makes it very easy for you to work with, so that you purchase one device fits all kind of approach, and it's the premium end device. When we come to Pro 5, it kind of comes along with the HCV5 itself, but Pro 5 can only read CAN bus data from the heavy vehicles and machineries and refrigerators. Now, some of the refrigerators are peculiar for Pro 5 devices. For example, if you want to read data from IQ Freeze, which is a module that will be connected to the refrigeration unit, and you could read data of how that refrigeration unit is performing, the status of it, the temperature that is being maintained inside the cold storage, the cold trailer. So for this, Pro 5 will be the best option. This is catered to basically the heavy machineries and trucks. Moving forward, we have LCV5. LCV5, as I said, it's basically for the light vehicles and vans, and like cars, the delivery vehicles or vans, you could see. So we can read CAN bus data from those vehicles using LCV5. Now, you could also go with HCV5, or you could go with LCV5 for this. Similarly, with trucks also, you could go with HCV5 or Pro 5. Now, which device you need to go with is well documented in our manuals and instructions, which is our website, which is doc.ruptela.com, which the link I will be providing you a bit later. Now, moving forward, these are some of the target industries when it comes to logistics, utilities, trailers, heavy machineries, rental and leasing. Rental and leasing is where we have the car sharing model, very, very popular. Again, with specific to car sharing, we have also one more advanced device, which is not included in this presentation, because we handle that product on case-to-case basis. So that device is specifically for car sharing, which is called Share Mobility, and it's called SM5. And if you guys need more info about SM5, please let us know, and we will also provide the contact details for you guys to know more about it. Now, these are basic information that you will also find in the data sheets, like how many digital outputs and what kind of inputs, how many analog inputs, how can they be converted. They could be converted back to digital inputs or analog if you want it. You could also set alarms based on these inputs directly from the device itself. We have two CAN interfaces, physical CAN interfaces. One is for both can be used for various purposes, but again, the intention of having these two CAN interfaces is that in most of the cases, with experience, what we have found is not all parameters for, let's say, odometer or the fuel reading of the cars or the trucks, these may not be available in one CAN bus line. There are multiple CAN bus lines spread across the vehicle itself. So we may need to tap into more than one CAN bus pair. So in such cases, we use these two CAN buses, CAN bus interfaces, and we configure the device accordingly so that you, in the end, you get the data that you need for the project or the installation. When it comes to K-line interface, it's mostly for the European markets where tachograph data reading is required. In the recent past, I have not come across any K-line or BD parameter interfaces because those belong to kind of an old set of vehicles. Mostly all the new vehicles have the OBD pins directly, which is not K-line. Coming back to one wire interface, you can have the I button readers. You can have one wire RFID also along with these interface. You can also connect both temperature sensors as well as the driver authorization things on the same one wire bus. You could also have temperature and humidity sensors also. So we can support up to 4 temperature sensors at the same time, along with the driver one wire reader as well, I button reader as well. Our devices have like 3 serial ports, like 2 RS-232 and 1 RS-45. We already have some of the accessories pre-integrated in our device. So you just need to select which accessory you need to go for, and then basically you can configure the device. In case if the RS-232 port or the accessory that you intend to use is not supported, we have an option called transparent channel, which is basically dumping all the data that is being received on the accessory on the RS-232 port, basically. So if you have a specific data requirement from that specific accessory, you can filter that particular using the start and the ending symbols, and all the data in between the start and the symbols will be directed towards the server. So if you could do some changes on your server, you can have an accessory that works on RS-232 without firmware changes of the device. Because for the firmware changes, it involves the development team of Ruptela, and then it goes through a process and testing, and then it comes back to you. So that could take some time. So in order for you to go to market and do a POC or something, or to buy some time, you could definitely go for transparent channel. Even if you don't want to even if you don't want to go for that short way, you could use it as a permanent solution also, because we already have the starting and ending symbols, and you will get that data for sure from that accessory. The only thing is that the device should be creating an event from its side, basically. So again, if you have any more questions, you could ask also that in the chat. We have 3 LEDs, basically, GNSS, peripherals, and the power. So that is also covered. For the next one, so advanced vehicle data reading. So we have an automotive team in Ruptela who basically receives the request for integration of all the new vehicles. So we already have a database, which also you can find on doc.ruptela.com. And this website already have the vehicle list, which is our supported vehicle list, basically. And it has been categorized as OBD, LCV, and heavy. So if you go with OBD, you can see that all the vehicles that is supported on the OBD line itself. When it comes to LCV, you will also find OBD, but again, you will also find vehicles that would not share data on OBD, but you will have to search for a different CAN bus line. And all the installation diagram for that vehicles will also be available on that same page itself. So all you need to do is either request a support team, which is support@ruptela.com, for that specific vehicle installation schema, and our support will be more than happy to share the schema with you, and if needed, to help with the testing also. Now, coming to the key features, as I said, when it comes to HCV or Pro 5, we have some of the trailer CAN data reading also already integrated, which is WAPCO, Norbrems, and Haldex. So these are popular trailer control units that you can find, and we have already integrated them to our device. So it's basically drop down, choose the one that you need, and then you get the data on your server. Again, coming back to refrigerator data reading, you can see Thermo King touchprint. So we have recently kind of developed, basically integrated our Thermo King touchprint panels to our device. So basically you can use Ruptela device to directly connect to Thermo King and get the data out of it. The others are Carrier Vector and OptiTemp. And one thing I could add here is the IQ Freeze module, which is also working closely with the temperature or the refrigerator, truck, or the trailer readings as well. So most of these Thermo King touchprint, the clients or the customers who wants to read data out of it kind of have this IQ Freeze with them, and Pro 5 device have the IQ Freeze already integrated. So basically you can connect it to, and then you can get the data out of it. Now, coming back to access control, you can see wired and wireless driver identification, trailer identification using Bluetooth. It's all available there. Now, coming back to vehicle integration support. Now, for example, if you have a huge project and you have good amount of vehicles to be integrated, you could always check our website for more details on supported vehicles. And if you find that there are vehicles or there are gaps that you don't find those vehicles in our list, you could always write to our support, and support can internally check if there is a way we can integrate, or without integration move forward with it. In the worst case, you will have to collect the CAN logs from the vehicle. Now, that's where the onboarding session comes into play. So in the onboarding session that I spoke about in the beginning of the webinar, we do open WhatsApp channels and Skype channels for direct interaction with the field application engineers, so that they will kind of guide you and train you how to kind of get the data out of it. Now, Ruptela has developed their software specifically for this purpose. So for example, if the sampling or the CAN logging is done on the client side, we use this software to basically guide step by step on how to read CAN bus data from the vehicles. So for example, if how to take the data so that we can find the RPM of the vehicle, or how to take the data when you need to find the fuel level. If you need to check if there is fuel level available from the CAN bus, how do you do that? So all these informations are available in that software itself. It's like you click next, it asks you for the next steps to be done. For example, ignition, turn the ignition on. So you need to turn the ignition on and then click next. It would ask you to keep the vehicle on for like 3 minutes or so. So keep it for 3 minutes. So likewise, it's a step-by-step process, and it prompts you to do things step by step. This way, it makes it quite easy for the clients also to use this tool and get the logs out of the vehicle. And once this log is being collected, it will be sent to our automotive team, and they will be basically reverting the log that is received. They will check the available parameters from the lines that you have collected, and then they will develop the firmware required and then release it. So basically, you will have to update the firmware of the device, and the vehicle will be integrated, and you can see the parameters coming in from the device. Now, with respect to UAE, we have, I myself is present in UAE. So in some cases, if the vehicle is not supported, and if the client is having some issues or finding it difficult to kind of revert, obviously, I will be more than happy to kind of, come down and give a session, or just to show how this can be done. Again, nevertheless, our onboarding sessions will really help you do that. We have already onboarded many of the clients, and the clients are kind of now in a good confidence level to kind of get the CAN logs and send it to us for reverting it. Usually, the sprint is like 2 to 3 weeks. So once you have the logs given to us, test firmware can be made available very soon, but the release will happen every 3 weeks. So that's how the sprint works in Ruptela. So I would say in case of emergency, the test firmware can be made quicker as well. So again, it depends on the order and the nature of the request. Now, I think I have spoken enough for the integration support. If there are any questions, again, we also recommend to use one of the hardware which is quite available in the online or e-commerce websites. You can order the logger from the website and use it for logging the canvas. Now, EC install and maintenance, I covered most of it in the previous slides itself. Basically, less cables is what the main idea here is, and more wireless, which is kind of making it easier when it comes to troubleshooting as well as even for installation. Now coming to accessories, we have temperature and humidity monitoring system in the sense sensor. So this is our one-wire temperature and humidity sensor, which is wired, basically the old school method. You will have to completely wire the entire truck through the trailer. You'll have to drill holes, put the sensor in it, and then rail the wires completely towards the head, and then install the sensor. Again, we support up to 4 sensors, as I said, and with 4 sensor itself, you could add our one-wire RFID or I-button reader along with it. So you have the driver authentication as well as temperature and humidity monitoring on the same truck itself using our device. Coming back to, this is our wireless solution. So we have partnered with ELA here, and we use their wireless sensor, and we have integrated this sensor with our Bluetooth module in the device. So basically, you need to kind of install this onto the refrigerator truck, and the data will be read wirelessly using Bluetooth, and the device could be sitting on the head. And this way you can, now this can also be used for trailer tracking as well. Like you have unique ID coming in from these sensors, and this unique ID can be used as the ID of the trailer itself. And then when you have switching of these head and the trailers, you could use the same sensor for identifying which trailer has been connected. So it's like a bonus, I would say. You get to monitor the temperature as well as you get to monitor the truck head and the trailer, which trailer has been connected to which truck. So this is also an advantage. And it's IP68 housing, so it's good to go in some of the conditions. And installation time is saved because you don't have the wiring to be done. It's wireless, so basically saves time. Again, trailer ID, the same thing. You can either use if you don't have a requirement for temperature monitoring, you could also go with a beacon, Bluetooth beacon, which can also serve the same purpose of IDing the trailer or identifying the trailer, which trailer has been connected to the head. Again, you could use this with wired also. For example, if you are using one-wire sensor, we also transmit the one-wire ID along with the temperature and the humidity information that is coming from the sensor. So this way, the one-wire solution can also be used for the trailer ID. Wireless sensors can also be used for it. Even the beacons can also be used for trailer identification. Coming back to the axle weight monitoring, some countries have this monitoring as a mandate, and it's bound legally. So they have a necessity to kind of use these sensors for monitoring it. So Ruptela kind of supports some of these brands already, which is Kimax weight sensor, for which the purchase of it needs to be done directly from the Kimax team itself. However, we also support kind of it for installation, configuration, and so on. Coming to Technoton wireless sensor, you can install these sensors, and it kind of works wirelessly, and you have wired as well. If you excuse me one Sorry. So coming back to the topic, so basically the sensors will be installed on the axle, and then the axle load will be measured, and this will be transmitted to the Kimax. If we are using Kimax, it will be transmitted directly to the Kimax, and then from the Kimax is what the device will be reading the data. When it comes to the Technoton wireless sensor, it would read directly from the sensor itself towards the module device or Ruptela device. And you have wired solution also, where you'll have to individually wire these and then connect it to the device. Now, driver behavior monitoring. Basically, the person, the status of the vehicle or the situation or the condition of the vehicle depends really on how it is being driven or how it's being used as well. So we have this driver behavior monitoring. Now, the entire package of driver behavior monitoring works both with the device as well as the platform. So Ruptela Trust Track platform already have the driver behavior monitoring modules already ready to compute the data that is being sent from the device, and it's kind of a full package. But again, the device itself has the parameters coming out of it, like the harsh braking, harsh RPMs, harsh cornering, harsh accelerations, and so on. So these events and these data can also be used by a third-party server or your own server to kind of score these drivers. So again, the algorithms that sits on top of these data will be entirely yours. But the data that is needed to drive those algorithms will be provided from the Ruptela end. And there is an Echo Drive module in the device itself. Now, this Echo panel is basically part of the driver behavior, where the panel gives live indication as to how the driver is driving, basically. So it will be mounted on, or it can be attached near to the driver side. And once there are events triggered, like the harsh acceleration or cornering or harsh deceleration, harsh braking, so once these events are generated by the device, it would indicate the driver with a notification. It would basically alert the driver visually, as well as gives audible alerts as to he needs to comply with the standards or the policy that has been set by the company. Again, the driver behavior monitoring really depends on the company policies as well. Like, for example, what can be called as a harsh RPM? Some companies would consider 2000 RPM as harsh. Some would go to 3000. So it completely boils down to the company policies. And similarly, these events will be generated by the device. It will be sent at the same time to the server as well. And you can also visually see them on your dashboard. And then the driver can correct himself looking at the visual alerts. Now, Phatic Sensor. Basically, this will be mounted onto the dashboard, and it will be constantly watching the driver, basically. But it wouldn't record the video. Instead, it would alert the driver once he is not concentrating on the road, basically. So if the driver is distracted or if he's sleeping, it would detect, the camera would detect it, and it would immediately take a picture also. And the camera itself has a capacity to store up to 40 pictures. But these pictures can also be stored in the device SD card. So the device, if you have the device and the device, when I say device, it's the HCV5 or the Pro 5 or the LCV5. So once you have these devices, you can insert an SD card, and by default, the camera snaps will be going to the device. And from your server, you can request these images, and the alerts will be immediate. But if you want the pictures also, you can request the device to send them to you. Also, you can have the alerts. So when the driver is basically not looking at the road straight, it would immediately trigger an alert as well as a snapshot, as I said, and then you could request them from your server to get the pictures, but the alerts will be sent automatically once the event happens. So basically, that's the Phatic sensor. When it comes to safety and security, we go to the driver identification. As I said, we support the one wire, so you can use the I button reader, Dallas button keys could be used. There is also another version of the iButton, which is 1971 kind of a model that is also supported on our devices. So the configurations are different, but again, the configurations are later part. Once you visit our documentation platform, you will see all the accessories and sensors supported by our devices and the respective connection diagrams, as well as the configurations as to how to configure the device. Now, the driver identification can be used for engine blocking. So, for example, if you want someone to use the vehicle only if he's authorized, in such an event, you can provide the authorized whitelist in the device itself, and whenever someone tags in, it would check this whitelist and ensure that he is authorized to drive, or if he's not authorized, basically. So that is, and you have RFID card also. Basically, the one wire supports both RFID as well as iButton. So we have an RFID one wire based reader as well. So you could use any of these based on your requirement. Some projects or clients mandate that they have to have the RFID card itself, not the iButton. So in such cases, we do have that option. Other than this option, we have the Bluetooth wireless button that can be pressed, also a smartphone option. So you need to use the Bluetooth API that we provide, and you can have your own authentication software in the phone, and then that can be used for authenticating the driver. As I said, the wireless driver authentication, it's basically no installation needed because it can be used as a keychain for the key itself. You just need to double click, and it also comes with the blocking of the engine. The configuration of this can be done via a third-party app, meaning the Bluetooth button needs to be configured using an app, and that can be then used with our device. So basically, the configuration of the Bluetooth button. Now, coming to alcohol sensor, I don't think that will be popular in the Middle East region, but again, it can be quite useful for European or the other markets, where for example, if you don't want, you can restrict the vehicle access basically. So once the driver enters the car, he needs to blow onto the sensor, and the sensor would detect if there is intoxication. If there is intoxication, basically the vehicle won't start, and that is one of that's the sensor basically does. It also gives you the value of the intoxication, and you can see that there are some premium high-end sensors as well as budget options. But again, the purpose of the sensor is to basically authenticate the driver based on the intoxication. So if he has not drunk, it's good for him. So it's preventing the drunk driving, and this is already installed, integrated onto our device as well. Snapshot camera basically is to take pictures based on events or based on server commands. So there are a preset of events that can be configured, and when such events occur, the camera would automatically click a picture of the situation where the camera has been placed. So you could keep one on the cabin side and the other on the trailer's back head for monitoring the movement of the doors or anything. You could use it for that, or you could use it to see what is happening inside the van. Likewise, it depends on the use case. However, the idea is basically to trigger the picture upon an event. So it could be a harsh braking event. It could be a rollover event. So basically, this is the idea. And with server command, you can also kind of ask the device to take a picture remotely. So basically, you are sitting in the office and you need to see what's happening. You could do that from using a server command. So a particular integration is required here for this to work. That integration needs to be done on your protocol side also in order to get these. Now, again, based on the other cameras, this option also is available, which is the SD card, where you can have up to 2000 photos, snaps in the card itself. Basically, it will overwrite if you don't delete them. You have commands to kind of delete also the pictures from it. So if you look at, so next would be the door sensor. This is one of the common sensors used almost everywhere. Door sensors basically or door open and closing events. Not just this sensor, you could also use magnetic sensors also. All it takes is a digital input. You can connect to digital input and it would give you the idea. But this one is for tracking the door opening and closing events of doors. Again, this can also be coupled with lots of other alarms also. For example, if a door sensor alarm happens outside a particular geofence, it could activate an alarm, or it could be taken into the server also, like where if someone opens the door and you get an event and then it happens within a geofence, you could mark it as also authorized or unauthorized based on the use case. So this is also another feature. Now coming to panic button. Panic button basically is a button, and it's connected to one of the digital input, and this digital input has a priority, meaning this digital input have the capability to trigger an alarm immediately. Also, it can trigger an SMS within the device itself. Not all events lets you kind of trigger SMS from the device directly, but a panic button will be connected to a digital input, and this digital input has a priority, and it can send SMS directly from the device itself. So that there is no lag from the server, or there is no latency, basically, I would say. So it would trigger immediately. Now, the same digital input can be used for different purposes. Like, for example, it can be used to track different work modes. Like, let's say, if you are using this particular time of the day, let's say 9 a.m. to 12 or 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. you are using for your business trip, and from 12 to other time, if you're using for your family or your personal use, you could use one of the digital inputs for that, and then this information will be collected, and you can map this value towards the use case. So basically, some of our clients are using it for PTO. PTO switch is basically a switch that enables the heavy vehicles to operate their cranes, or if they have an external component or a machine connected to that particular truck, there is a switch called power takeoff. That's the abbreviation of PTO. So some clients use take inputs from this particular switch. So once it's switched on, they consider that the asset is being utilized. So imagine a case of a heavy machinery, like a small crane, or an earth moving vehicle, like a bulldozer or a JCB. So in such cases, they connect this information to one of the digital input, thereby making sure that the asset utilization is proper. Because if you look at a car, the utilization is measured on how this has been used. So it could be to transport people, it could be to deliver some stuff. So you could measure it with the movement. But when it comes to bulldozers or earth moving vehicles, the basic utilization is to know how much it has been utilized for its purpose. So connecting the PTO switch or the likes of hydraulic switches to one of these inputs can actually help in estimating the exact utilization of the machine, which is the intended utilization. Again, ignition blocking relays is basically a normal relay or automotive relay, and the relay is basically used to kind of immobilize and mobilize the vehicle, or in other words, block or unblock the engine, basically. It comes with a socket, which makes the installation convenient. So if you are ordering the relay, you could also get the relay socket, which can make the installation easier. External GNSS antenna. The one of the best use of this antenna is basically the third point, as I can say, because it in some cases some of the clients came back to us and asked like, we would like to use an external antenna because once the robbers or thieves who want to kind of rob the car, basically they will check if there is an GPS antenna to make sure that the device is installed or not. So these robbers basically look into these details and they would cut the antenna directly. But still, that can help in some cases, not in all cases. In some cases, it can help and prevent them looking further for the device. So one of the client is very much using this particular feature basically to kind of trick them. So these guys look into the antenna, they cut it, and then they think that the location information will not be available anymore. But again, um, the internal antenna will take over automatically once the cut is identified, and it will also send an alert once the antenna is cut, that the antenna has been cut, and then you could do the whatever that needs to be done. Now, fuel level monitoring. Mostly the fuel level monitoring comes for the trucks and heavy machineries, where they need to kind of install a fuel level sensor. Most of the vehicles kind of share the fuel level information from the OBD itself. So that can be covered from the canvas side of canvas side. And when it comes to trucks, you would need a fuel level sensor dipped into the fuel tanks, basically. And we support connectivity through RS-232 as well as RS-45. And you can also use analog and Bluetooth as well. Now, some of the RS-232, RS-45 connections would require an integration. Except for analog inputs, all the other would need an integration. But again, we have already integrated some of these models like Ruptela, which is Ruptela's own fuel level sensor. Other than that, you can have RCS, Omnicon, Technoton. Basically, the idea is the sensors that support LLS protocol has been found to be working with the devices, our devices. So it can work with our device. However, I would really recommend you to kind of purchase one and then test before taking a bulk order so that you are sure that it works. Again, for sure, RCS, Omnicom, and Technicon will work out of the box, connected to the device. It will read the data readily. Again, coming to Bluetooth, we support the DET S7 from Technoton and Escort sensors. Basically, this helps in saving time by installing through using wires and so on. So basically, you can install it. There is a setup mode. There is a configuration mode on the sensor itself. You can do that through some of the techniques they have already provided. Some uses magnet to turn on and off basically the sensor. Some uses like you need to touch with a screwdriver the main probe and the covering probe, so it would turn on basically using that. So there are different settings for different manufacturers, but again, the idea is that we support the Bluetooth module, and we can read data from these sensors wirelessly, and it quite actually saves a lot of installation time. The only installation time you would need is to linearize the tank itself. So once you insert the fuel, you will have to fill the tank in step-by-step way so that you can kind of calibrate the sensor, which is a must for almost all sensors that you are installing, unless and until the tank is so linear, which is like very hard. I mean, it's almost impossible, I can say. So so basically, the sensor features all needs to be done as it is, but the connectivity from the sensor towards the device, you don't need to wire anything. This is the idea. Now, these were the accessories that I wanted to discuss. But again, there are much more accessories available, and you can see them on our website, which is doc.ruptela.com. And when it comes to harnesses, you have EasyCan. EasyCan basically is a non-intrusive method of connecting canvas to the device. I mean, canvas network of the vehicle. Um, some cars are brand new, and manufacturers would void warranty in case if the wires are spliced, or if you are tampering with the wires. So basically, this is a non-intrusive way. Basically, you will pass these canvas lines through this sensor, and you close it, and you will basically read the data onto the device. And one another good thing is that it wouldn't let the device send any commands to the canvas network of the vehicle, which means once if there are cases where once you install these devices, and once you turn the vehicle off and then lock the vehicle, there could be chances that the telematics devices may tend to send a ping or a handshake with the canvas network. In this case, it keeps the canvas network on, and this can drain the car battery. So in such cases, in order to avoid all these things, you can use the ECCAN, which will not let any command to pass through from the device to the vehicle canvas. This way, you are sure that there is no active communication from the device to the canvas network. So basically, a read-only mode is activated once you install ECCAN onto the vehicles. Now, it's available for J1939 as well as J1708 interfaces. As you may know, that J1708 works on the RS485 side, unlike the J1939. Again, in some vehicles like Volvo, Renault trucks, we have seen that they use J1708 for particular parameters. As I remember, it's for either odometer or fuel level information. So in order for you to get these information, you need to connect one canvas interface to J1708 and the other canvas to the J1939, so that both information are collected on the device, and you will get fuel level from one and probably odometer from the other one. So both are available with ECCANs as well. Coming to harness, FMS harness, basically the trucks usually comes with FMS harness if equipped. Not all vehicle comes with FMS connectors. You could find these FMS connectors mostly in between the driver side and the co-passenger or the passenger side. You would find it almost in the middle. Mostly that's where it is found. In some cases, you can find it on the fuse box side, or sometimes you can see it on top on the tachograph side. Again, the idea is that FMS connector is like making the life easy. Once you find this line, you can be sure that the canvas lines will be there on the network. I mean, on that connector particularly. But again, not all trucks will have this enabled. So the truck manufacturer charges a certain amount to enable this connector, because this is solely for connecting telematics devices and so on. So they charge an extra fee. Some manufacturers don't do it, but we have seen that in European side, most of the FMS connectors kind of work, and this FMS harness can directly go into that connector, and you can have the other end connected to the device, and you don't need any more installation, because the power, ground, ignition, CAN high and CAN low, everything will be available from this connector. So this way, installation time goes goes low, and you can have faster deployments in such cases. When it comes to OBD harness, the idea is the same. Basically, you can connect the OBD plug directly onto the vehicle, and the canvas lines will also be connected to the device, so you can connect directly to the vehicle, and you can read the data from the OBD. As I said earlier, we have a website called doc.ruptela.com for this purpose, and this particular website also shows you which are the models and manufacturers that we support as of now. So this harness can make the installation easier, where you can just connect it to the OBD port. But unlike the other case, you may need to still find the ignition line for that particular vehicle, and you will have to connect it to the yellow wire of this harness. So basically, not all kind of vehicles give ignition lines on the OBD port, so you'll have to find it outside of it. But still, all the other measures like the power, ground, everything, and the canvas will all be handled This way you will also not tamper with any of the lines of the vehicle as well. So warranty will not be void as well. Now, OBD splitter harness is nothing but a concealed OBD2 installation where you can leave one port for the service or the maintenance. So once you deliver your car for service or maintenance, there will be one port available for them to connect so that they don't need to unplug our device from it. So that is also available. When it comes to, again, this is another method where you can save some time. Also, it prevents from voiding the warranty. Also, if the vehicle is due for service, you don't need to go to the vehicle and unplug the device so that the service guys can plug their OBD connector. This harness will be available, and then you can connect. I mean, the service technicians will be able to connect it through this splitter harness. Power harness is nothing but the leads looks like almost like a fuse. So if you have a fuse box and you have an empty slot and you know that the power is coming there, you can directly go and plug it into there. But canvas and tachograph data will not be available from this one. The previous one, the FMS connector, will also give you the tachograph data from the connector itself. In the power harness, you will not have that option. It is mostly for connecting the power and the ground, also the ignition line as well. So it kind of helps you by not removing or stripping the wires, basically. Okay, now let's go and see if you have any questions. And as I said, the contacts here I have mentioned info@ruptela.com. So whichever region you are free to write into info@ruptela.com. And once we receive these emails, this will be directed automatically to the specific region from where the question has come or the email has come. And for a quick contact, you can have the Europe contact as well as the Middle East contact. In all other cases, you could always write to info@ruptela.com. And again, let me see if I can also give you the link for the documentation website. This will kind of help you guys to go through our website. Do check out our accessories, harnesses, the vehicle supported lists that we have. And if you have any questions, feel free to write to info, and there will be, and we will get the questions accordingly. If you could retrieve, so I can see that there is like a question regarding the camera through Trust Track. Again, the service as service actually is not yet available on the Trust Track. I would definitely give this feedback to the Trust Track platform team. For sure, they will have it in the pipeline. Again, it's also based on the number of requests and the demand of that particular feature. Each features are analyzed properly, and they would take this into the consideration as well. I will definitely take this up with the Trust Track platform team. As of now, Trust Track doesn't support retrieving pictures or video on its platform. However, there are options for you to kind of do it on your own, on your server. For informations, you can write to info, or you can also look into the documentation website where we have specified everything. So I think you should see a learn more option here where you can click, and it should directly take you to our documentation website. And in there, you can see our accessories and hardware solutions. You could browse through, and if in case of any questions, you could also come back. Okay, I think that's it from my side. And unless you guys have any other questions, and I can see that if you can share a PPT, definitely I can check with the team and I'll come back to the question. If you could write an email to us regarding the same question, we would reply back to the email accordingly when it comes to the PPT as well. I think the time was intended for 1 hour. I think I took like 2 to 3 minutes extra. But again, if you have any questions regarding the presentations, you can Is HCV5 available today? Um, what what did you mean by available today? I mean, do you mean that we are still continuing the product or we have discontinued the product? The question is not clear. Again, the answer is the HCV5 is still there in the market. We have, and that's the latest edition of heavy vehicle monitoring device, which caters to both LCV and heavy vehicle. So yes, it's there. Yeah, there you go. You have the link for HCV5 in the chat. And all the technical user manuals, technical data sheets, you will have it there. Commenting on the shortage of the product for the future, I mean, the shortage is basically the component shortage, and we don't see that there is a shortage for HCV5 as of now in our production facility. But again, you can always take this up with our sales team of that particular region. So if you need contacts of a particular region of a sales team, you could always ask that in the chat, and then we'll try to provide you the contact for that particular region. It is not quite clear on my side as to when this can be expected, to be honest. Again, I would definitely take this feedback from you guys to the Trust Track development team and try to see if that's there in the pipeline or if they are intending to have this feature in the Trust Track platform. So again, that's a question that I cannot answer right away from where I am. And again, you could always write to info@Ruptela with all the questions, including the ones like the expecting videos and picture support on the Trusted platform. You could always direct these questions directly to us at info@ruptela.com, and the concerned team or the responsible team will receive these requests from you guys, and then you will get a response. And feel free to click on the link that is provided on the left side for the documentation website, where you can find all the accessories, harnesses, all the installation or the configuration details or connection details of the sensors, and everything will be there. And you also have the contacts list on the chat as of now. So I think it's time to conclude the webinar, and thanks for being with me. Myself is Niaz, and I'm the field application engineer for Ruptela from the Middle East team, specifically Dubai team. So thanks for watching, and thanks for staying online. Thanks for the questions, and if there are any questions, please feel free to write to info@ruptela.com. Thank you.